ಕಲೆ, ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಪೋಷಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಮೈಸೂರು ರಾಜರ ವಂಶ. We all are so indebted to this family, you could say, to this line, for the patronage that Indian arts and science and culture got. It is an honor that His Excellency Shri Yaduveer Krishnadatta Chamaraja Wadiyar is in our midst. I now invite him to say a few words.
A very good morning to all of you here, dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be very honest, when the invite came for the National Mandolin Festival, I was blissfully unaware, I would say. I knew that the mandolin existed, but I didn't know much about the instrument. So, nimgella nam generation gottidiyalla ella last minute. So this morning I was on the way from Mysore. I was just typing in mandolin and artists which came, and to my surprise, it is across the board apparent in all major compositions. And so when I was seeing Shostakovich, Prokofiev, Vivaldi, of course, and as you saw also very famously the Godfather theme itself, all of which feature the mandolin. It is so enlightening to know that. So my thanks to all of you for this little enlightenment and removing such ignorance from all of that. I think that has been the greatest takeaway for me across the board when coming to such events. As we all, as the Justice very kindly mentioned already, he was talking about our family's association with culture and promoting especially the arts and music and throughout our history, and it has always been the foremost ideal of our family to, I think, to put it in a sentence, would be to create institutions or create art forms that are of everlasting value to society. And that is the key, I think, takeaway when you study or whenever we come to such programs. We always, whenever I've had the opportunity of attending such programs, we've always had the good fortune of others, especially our elders, telling us stories of how it was before, and remembering the days of the golden age of Mysore. And I think the key to take away was every element of society contributed towards creating value, and thereby creating everlasting value. And that is in the true sense what we all aim for in all time. And so it's truly a pleasure that I think for our family especially, in many ways they looked at it upon as their dharma, that they should be looking to promote all areas and all facets of society. But truly they were very, very, from an early stage, inculcated into art forms. And this also is coincidentally my grandfather's 100th birth anniversary, and July 18th will be, he was born after the First World War, some of you may know, and that is why his grandfather's name, which he would inherit, Chamaraja, it was affixed with Jaya to commemorate the victory of the Allied forces in the First World War. So he, of course, composed over, they say exactly 108 kritis, but I believe only 106 have been revived. He composed a lot of them within the palace, within the temples there, and some of them we know even at Trineshwara Swami temple there, where there is in the Parvati Amnar Gudiyalli, ಇನ್ನೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಂದಿರೋದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ಲೈಟ್ ಇದೆ, which is still working, which is a nearly 100-year-old spotlight. So he used to sit there and compose many of his kritris, and of course he has a Tripursundaramani and everybody he has contributed to tremendously. And a little known fact is obviously he also sponsored the Metna Society in London, who was then an unknown composer, but then he had sent down a donation of £10,000 to the Philharmonica Society, and then furthermore to the Metna, creating the Metna Society, thereby reviving all of those, not reviving but essentially promoting him to create so many more compositions. And so truly he was in his youth a big time wanted to become a concert pianist, and he was very gifted on the piano, and he passed that on. Of course his sisters also were very gifted, and they would often my grandaunts they would often reminisce that he would, anytime they would go abroad those days, he would immediately, as soon as they got off the ship and in the hotel, he would immediately leave either to two places, the bookstore or the LP store, because that was his only a draw, and he would spend maximum amount of time there and nowhere else. And testament to that, Mysore Palace still has one of the best classical music collections of LPs. I mean, easily over 40,000 of LPs from that era. And he truly loved collecting and truly loved listening to music. And apparently all day long it would be going on in his office. And we have, of course, very good LP players there which he commissioned. So he would be listening all day in his office while guests came in, came out for all his appointments. So he truly loved music, and that's what it stemmed from. The whole family's tradition of going forward and endearing ourselves to art forms and to music was from a rather, maybe we can say in some sense selfish one, because we enjoyed it so much so ourselves. And it so happened that it would benefit society and the state, and that is what we are essentially all inheritors of today. And that is, if anything I can give away from what I'm, in my short journey of this, taking up this responsibility, is the understanding that we are all as much custodians, or rather you are all as much custodians to the Mysore legacy as I am. And we have a joint responsibility and a joint custodianship of that legacy in keeping it intact and promoting it further, adding to it, to our own experiences, our own aspirations, our own ideals, and then passing it on to our forerunners, so that they may, you know, when they come to take our places, may inculcate that same Mysore characteristic and promote it going down further in the line. I think that is the most important thing. We, of course, we had a small, if you will remember, Justice very kindly, the Chief Justice very kindly remembered a story of Swami Vivekananda. It will be, I think, pertinent to add a little bit before and after. Swami Vivekananda visited Mysore, of course, in his early time frame, and that at that time the Maharaja was Chamaraja, Chamaraj's grandfather. And he, of course, had him in Mysore, and he stayed at a local matta there in Mysore, which was all arranged by the palace. And he gave many lectures at the palace, and there was apparently a recording of his singing, which all of us are trying to find very badly, and we've, of course, still yet to find it, and our hope is that we will find it. But nonetheless, during the course of his stay in Mysore is when he approached the Maharaja that he would like to go, and he's looking for monetary, he didn't ask, of course, but he was saying he was going to the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago, where he gave his famous speech, the Brothers and Sisters of America, which we are, I'm sure, all of us very aware of. For that, the monetary sponsorship came from Chamaraja Wadiyar, Jai Chamaraj Wadiyar's grandfather. And so on that ship, going to London and then to Chicago, of course, and his whole tour of America, he met Jamshed Tata, and the story follows. After which he attended the World Parliament of Religions, and towards the end of his tour of America, he writes a letter back to Chamaraja Wadiyar. And there is a very famous quote at the end of it, which everyone is aware of, but nobody quite knows that it was in a letter written to the Maharaja of Mysore, which was the very end of the letter. And whether the letter reached the Maharaja or not, we are unsure, because he was in Calcutta at the time and died very young, at the age of 32, from diphtheria. But nonetheless, the words are still pertinent, I think, to all of us. And I'd like to end on that note. He says, those who live for others are the ones who are only alive, and those who don't are more dead than alive. And I think that is most pertinent when it comes to all things, and has been sort of the guiding principle for all of us here in Mysore, now Karnataka. So saying those words, I'd like to thank all of you for inviting me here. I wish the event a grand success, and a very good morning once again to all of you.